Courting and marriage customs have adapted to what they are in today's society. In the Elizabethan era, marriage had many different practices, rules, and procedures. Marrying someone your parents did not approve of was highly frowned upon, and most marriages were arranged, especially in the upper class.
The typical age for marriage in the Elizabethan times was age 26 for men and 23 for women. Moreover, the age of consent for boys was 14 and girls was 12.
The Elizabethan wedding custom was a practice where the couple getting married had to announce their intentions to marry the other person in church 3 times on 3 consecutive Sundays or holy days. If they did not go through with these practices, people would consider their marriage illegal. This practice showed their commitment to each other and gave them time for any objections.
Reasoning for marriage in the Elizabethan times was much different than today. Parents used to arrange marriages for their children despite their opinion.
In the lower class, children started to have the right to protest marriage if their heart was placed with someone else, but this was only occasionally allowed. Historian Robert Ingram stated that marriages in the lower class had a more subtle system, in which love had a part to play. Although most people in Elizabethan times wanted to be placed in the upper class, the lower class had a more laid-back community, which allowed for more independence.
Children in the upper class, however, did not have the approval to follow their hearts. If they wanted to marry someone else, they either had to take the risk of not having the approval from their parents or could ignore their feelings and marry the person their parents chose for them. This decision was usually because the parents wanted more security for their family and wanted to maintain their status.
Upper class and lower class marriages happened for different reasons. The upper class married for allies, property, status, and financial security. The lower class would marry by their parents' suggestions, but held the option to choose their happiness over wealth. Approximately 1/3 of the nobility between 1595 to 1620 lived separately from their husband/wife.
The difference in how marriages proceed now is exceptionally different from Elizabethan times. As of now, a prenup is available, so you are not forced to share all the possessions in your marriage. You have the ability to choose who you want to marry and are not assigned a life partner. This includes the allowance of same-sex relationships. As a society, we have learned that the most important thing in life is being happy and accepting everyone for who they are. Now, you also have the option to have a divorce if you're not happy in your current relationship. In Elizabethan times, however, there were many restrictions in marriages. All belongings brought into the marriage were shared with no limits. The upper classes were very strict with who they married, and no one would protest against the person their parents chose for them. Lower classes had the right to oppose a marriage if they were truly unhappy, but this was a rare occurrence. Same-sex marriages were nothing but a mere thought at the time. As Jonathan Goldberg said, homosexuality was something that existed, something that everyone knew existed, but something that had no name of its own.
Now, divorces are something quite common, but in the Elizabethan era, they did not even exist. Once married, you would be with your spouse for the rest of your life, whether you liked it or not.
Once the couple had children, the father had most rights of guardianship over their children, leaving the mother with a small amount of authority over their children compared to the father. The kids were often viewed as objects being created to work, clean, and bring profit to the family. These children had little to no rights, leading to their parents making the ultimate decision of who their lifelong partner would be. There were many different practices performed prior to a couple's wedding during this era, as well as after the wedding. During the wedding, the bride would wear flowers in her hair, and they would also go along her dress. Once the women were married, they had to keep their hair contained beneath a bonnet, while unmarried women were allowed to keep it loose. Marriage is still viewed as something that is necessary to fulfill one's purpose of life. There are many people who decide not to get married based on their own values, such as independence, commitments, or simply disinterest in relationships.
It is unfortunate that some people think their life can only be fulfilled through marriage when everyone lives a different life and should be proud of their individual achievements.
Even though some people may decide to not get married, the judgment of others will always be beside them. People still base their decisions on what their parents will think, not fully what will make them happy. Trying to please their parents before they please themselves is something commonly seen in many marriages, but it does not always turn out. Some of these marriages ultimately end in divorce due to the couple not being happy.
Although same-sex relationships have evolved and became more common and welcome in our society, there are still many disrespectful opinions towards them. Some people may be afraid of things that are different, but that is no excuse to be disrespectful towards individuals who know what will make them happy.
In the play Macbeth, Lady Macbeth and Macbeth's relationship seemed to be before their time, as the play was written during the Elizabethan era, which we can see the common roles placed on the man and woman in a marriage. While the couple is talking about killing King Duncan, Lady Macbeth tells her husband to leave all the planning to her and for him to not worry about anything.
This shows that their relationship was far before their time because during this era, and many more to come. The men were the ones who did all the hard work. The women were the ones who stayed at home, cooking, cleaning, and taking care of the children. For Lady Macbeth to tell her husband that she will do the hard and dirty work of planning was very unexpected, and as it goes against the gender roles of the Elizabethan era.
Thus, relationships in the Elizabethan era were much different than marriages that we see in today's society. Thank you.